Greetings all, Happy New Year. 2024 is already here. I'm still trying to process 2023, but we've got to move forward because we've got new films, new horizons, new possibilities, new destinations, new hopes, new dreams. But for this video, let's just stick to the films. So these are my top 5 most anticipated films of 2024. And I'm going to mention one film right out the gate that won't be making the top 5 purely because it doesn't have a confirmed release date for 2024. And that's The Movie Critic, which is Tarantino's new film. A film critic for a porno magazine in 1970s Los Angeles, directed by Quentin Tarantino. I mean, come on. Yeah, ecstatic to see that film, but since it doesn't have an actual official 2024 release date, I can't put it in my top 5 because rules are rules. But if it did have a confirmed date, it would be in the top 5 1000%. It would be my number 2 most anticipated of the entire year. So getting into the actual top 5 now, the first film up is Furiosa, a Mad Max saga. And I've just remembered, I actually haven't watched the trailer for this film yet because it came out at the same time as the GTA 6 trailer, and that took precedence over pretty much everything else in my life. But even without seeing the trailer and the first 3 Mad Max films, there's a lot here to be excited about. George Miller back in the director's chair, Anya Taylor-Joy playing young Furiosa, Chris Hemsworth's in there, and if it's going to be anything like Mad Max Fury Road, where it's out in the desert doing these just crazy, insane, practical action scenes that are just absolutely mesmerizing and just melt your eyeballs out your skull, then we should be in for a good time. Next up, coming out on the same day as Furiosa, is Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. This is a big one for me because I adore the reboot trilogy, the Caesar trilogy, I don't know what you call it, Rise, Dawn and War for the Planet of the Apes. Incredible films, loved all 3 of them, some of the best modern blockbusters that have been made in the modern era. So I'm excited to see the storyline continue 300 years after the events of the last film, I believe they said. And the teaser trailer was all sorts of coolness, seeing the overgrown, deserted cities in the future, kind of like The Last of Us with apes. But since there's no Matt Reeves and Andy Serkis this time, there is room for disappointment with this. So I'm trying not to get my expectations too high, but I'm still excited for the film regardless because of how great the first 3 films were, and also because my dad adores the first 3 films as well. So we're both planning to go see this new Apes film together. It's going to be a great shared experience. We're both excited to go see it together. And yeah, just in general, Planet of the Apes. Bring on the apes on horses. Next is Inside Out 2. Of course, this makes the top 5. The first Inside Out film, the more I've watched it and thought about it over the years, it has become possibly my favourite Pixar film of all time. It's between Inside Out and Up. I could just never choose between those 2 films, but Inside Out is just a complete knockout, emotional, rollercoaster, spellbinding, magical experience that I just absolutely adore. It's one of my favourite films of the last decade. And I was actually kind of surprised when they announced Inside Out 2 because the first film just felt like one of those perfect standalone films that you wouldn't want to touch. But in seeing this teaser trailer and them introducing anxiety and more emotions yet to be revealed, you do see there is room for more stories to be told inside this little girl's head and more development to be explored and more human experiences to be explored. And that just makes me feel like Pixar know what they're doing with this one. And I've always felt like Pixar, apart from Cars, whenever they do a sequel, they always have a reason for doing so. And with their recent films like Elemental and Turning Red and Soul, they clearly have not lost their emotional touch. So I think we're onto something pretty special with Inside Out 2. I hope so anyway. You knew this was going to be in the list. It's going to be in everybody's most anticipated of the year list, apart from people who despise superhero films. Deadpool 3, absolutely. Even with Marvel Studios' recent stumbles, the stumbles of 2023, I'm excited for this film because I feel like Ryan Reynolds and his team are going to be left alone to do their thing. If Marvel and Disney are sensible and have any smarts, they're just going to let Ryan Reynolds and the team do what they do with Deadpool, which is just be hilarious and awesome and meta. And now that they have the whole MCU sandbox to play with, the opportunities for hilarity and awesomeness are just at an all-time high. And if that wasn't enough, you've got Hugh Jackman back as Wolverine. I mean, come on, who is not excited to see that dynamic? Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds back and forth as those 2 characters. We've wanted to see that forever. Sean Levy is also directing it, who did a great job with Ryan Reynolds on Free Guy. And I just feel like the stars are aligning for Deadpool 3 just to be one of the most purely entertaining films of the whole summer, maybe even the whole year, and hopefully this kickstarts Marvel Studios' resurgence into awesomeness once again. And last but not least is actually my most anticipated film of the year. This is the film I am most excited for all year long, and it's Joker: Folie à Deux. The first Joker film is one of the best comic book films ever made. It feels kind of weird even calling it a comic book film because it just feels so unlike the genre. But that's why it's so great. Joaquin Phoenix as that character was just mesmerizingly memorable, and I just love the portrayal of this character. And with this new film, you got Lady Gaga's Harley Quinn, which is a great choice, and the fact that it's going to have musical elements in it really, really intrigues the living hell out of me. Just the idea of a really dark, twisted musical of Joker and Harley Quinn going about Gotham, dancing together, laughing together, losing their minds together. It just has all sorts of potential for a really bold, crazy, daring take for these two characters, and I am all for this idea. The only drawback to this film being a musical, for me at least, is my dad. He was extremely excited for the idea of a Joker 2 because he adores the first film, and after that first film came out, he was like, they've got to make a part 2, they've got to make a part 2, and then they announced Joker 2, he gets really excited, and then I tell him it's going to be a musical, and I've never seen so much enthusiasm drained from a human being in my entire life because my dad prefers his grounded, gritty films. My dad will not go to a cinema to watch a musical because it's just not in his wheelhouse whatsoever. So the fact that we probably won't have the experience of seeing Joker 2 together is quite a bummer, but it's not going to stop me from going. So those are my 5 most anticipated films of 2024. I hope it's a great year in the cinema this year, but kind of more importantly, I hope it's a great year outside the cinema as well. And I'm going to peel back the curtain a little bit here. 2023 was an extremely difficult year for me. When I say I'm still trying to process it, I really do mean I'm still trying to process it because some stuff happened in my personal life that had me at my lowest low. I mean, I had bouts of depression this year that were just so goddamn sad and extremely tough to deal with, like I said. And it's just been a whirlwind of emotions last year. But having this YouTube outlet to do something moderately creative and to pour my thoughts on films and entertainment out into the world, it did help. And I know I don't get the greatest amount of views. I'm not too fussed about views anymore, really. So yeah, I just wanted to quickly say thanks for watching last year. And I'm going to keep going in 2024, as long as this doesn't get in the way too much. Let's watch some good films. Let's have some good times. In the words of the Eagles, take it easy.